Hey there, I'm Diane Jimenez, owner and founder of One Tidy Place. I created this podcast because I know parents have their hands full. I know this because I have 3 kids of my own. So while you tidy up, go out for a walk, or just need some real talk, I'm here for you. Thank you for tuning in. Are you ready? Let's do this. Well, hello there, my friend. How are you doing today? It's that beautiful time of year again, or at the time of this recording, it's just around the corner. And it's typically the prompt for thousands and thousands of people across the country to do that thing at this time of year. Can you guess what it is? Spring cleaning. And unlike the word cleaning in spring cleaning, this activity often goes far beyond washing, airing out, and sweeping up the cobwebs. It also involves organizing and reorganizing too. Now, since the pandemic started, we've all had a chance to take a step back and look within our own space and surroundings. Some have completely revamped their homes, while others are going at it step by step. Nevertheless, in the last 2 years, the concept of spring cleaning has gone from the beginning of spring to early summer to now an all-year-round event. Tell me someone who hasn't cleared out or organized a space in their home, office, car, even their relationships in the last 2 years. Okay, the last one is not part of your traditional sense of spring cleaning, but when it comes to it, this is a time of year to start fresh. So in today's episode, and in the spirit of starting fresh, I'm so excited to share with you my top 7 mistakes to avoid when starting an organizing project. Are you ready? Let's go. Number 1, buying all the organizing tools and latest gadgets. I know there are so many cool videos out there on TikTok, YouTube, and even on Instagram Reels with these time-saving and space-saving gadgets. I must admit though, I get caught up on them too. I actually saw one the other day where you have a circular plastic basket with holes at the bottom, kind of like a colander. Well, it hooks onto the base of the faucet of your kitchen sink. Anyway, use this to catch the peel whenever you're peeling vegetables. When you're done, you toss the scraps in the food bin and rinse this perforated basket out. This also doubles as a holder or storage solution for your sponge, scouring pad, and brush right by your kitchen sink. They had another gadget that mashes garlic in seconds. It was mesmerizing to watch. Now, although many of the gadgets are cool and functional, I like those, but the one I like the least are things like the garlic mashers and the containers that hold bananas or half an onion. They can be just gimmicky and take more space than they need to, versus just using what you have and achieving the same results as they advertise and not taking up more space than needed. Okay, number 2 of mistakes to avoid when starting an organizing project. Hiring a pro solely based on price. Awesome. You're ready to hire someone to help you with your home organizing project. That's great. But here's the thing. You're comparing one organizer from all others based on price alone. You may want the least dent on your budget. I get that. Or you may believe that the more expensive equates to the best out there or the one with more experience. It doesn't. Basing things on price is the wrong approach to go by when searching for the right professional organizer for your home. There's so much more to look deeper into when comparing one organizer to another, and price ain't it. Hiring anyone to do anything for you or with you requires a certain budget, and you want to make sure your dollars are being carefully considered. So my advice is, get on a few consultation calls with the organizers that fit your needs. Get to know them as a person, get a feel of their vibe, and definitely look within. How do they make you feel? And this isn't just it. There's a lot to think about and consider before you hire someone. So that's why I've created this cheat sheet for you. I'll link it in the show notes, or you can head to dianejimenez.com/PO cheat sheet. That's all in one word. So that's dianejimenez.com/PO cheat sheet, all one word. It'll help you organize your thoughts and put it out there on paper so you're ready for those consults. So where do you find an organizer? Maybe you know friends or family who've used professional organizing services before, or read a few posts from different Facebook groups. A good place to start is with a recognized association, like the Professional Organizers in Canada. Or in the US, you have NAPO, N-A-P-O. That's National Association of Productivity and Organizing Professionals. There's also APDO, that's A-P-D-O, the Association of Professional Declutterers and Organizers. That's in the UK. You can find a list of all organizers registered with them, their specialties and locations, and so much more. Many have websites and or social media accounts, so you can get an idea of their work, what they're all about, and even get a glimpse of their personality sometimes. So I encourage you to listen to my podcast episode number 7, Things You Need to Know Before Hiring a Professional Organizer. Or you can just go to dianejimenez.com/podcast7. That's all in one word. dianejimenez.com/podcast7, like the number 7. In that episode, I go through lots of details to help guide you through the process of what you should know and what to look out for when looking to hire a professional. I link it at the end of this episode. Okay, moving on to number 3 of mistakes to avoid when starting an organizing project. Starting with one big room versus a small space. You know the saying, biting off more than you can chew? Well, it's the same for organizing a space. When you tackle a big room or a more complex room to organize, understand that it takes a lot of time and planning. Sometimes it takes more than one person to help tackle this monster project. But if you're new to organizing, haven't organized much or at all, or just feel motivated to organize a big space, I have a few words of advice for you to avoid the overwhelm, frustration, and feelings of defeat. Start with a smaller space or a less complex one. What do I mean? A space that can give you quick wins and can be accomplished in a short period of time, maybe an hour or 2 max. For example, the bathroom cabinet or a few drawers at a time. There's the linen closet, a junk drawer, the food container drawer or a cabinet, a small kitchen pantry, and even the hallway closet that's not being used as much. When you start seeing little areas in your home being organized or that they are organized, it changes your perspective and feelings in your home. You start wanting the rest of the house to look and feel like that. Put together and structured, systemized, beautiful to see, and easy to access your things. It's a great feeling and an awesome time saver. All right, here's number 4 of mistakes to avoid when starting an organizing project. Number 4, starting with the wrong small space. We have every intention of organizing our spaces, one small space at a time, and it's a good strategy to go with. But when you start with the wrong space, though, like going through a small box of old pictures and letters or sentimental stuff, especially if you're going in without a plan or any guidelines set for yourself, oh man, that's tough. Dealing with stuff that takes you to another time and another place will derail you, set you back even further, or just completely remove you from the whole project, and it's case closed. And who knows when you'll be going back to it again? In a few weeks, a few months, maybe even several years. So my advice to you is, instead, just like the previous example, when you start with a big complex room versus a small one, start small, and in this case, in a neutral space. The examples I used before are great. Basically, it's a space that doesn't involve a lot of emotions or take you to another time and place. The best thing to get your momentum going is the easy, small spaces. For me, it's the kids' books or their toys, and even organizing their clothes, like one bin or a drawer at a time. Okay, let me clarify here. I did get emotional when the kids moved from one baby size to the next, and especially when they moved into the toddler and kid stages. I had to say goodbye to their baby clothes and let go of that phase of my life and enter a new one. It was emotional, and I gave myself that time and space, but I didn't let it linger on for too long. I had a goal, and that was to declutter and remove what we were no longer needing. And at that point in our lives, we were done with having kids. We were entering a new stage in our lives. I had to start cutting out some stuff and only keeping very few special items. One way that helped me a lot was to capture the images of the clothes. Yep, you know the saying, take a picture, it'll last longer. That's what I did. I laid out the outfits I liked and snapped 1 or 2 pictures of them. And that helped me keep those clothes, quote unquote, with me to say thank you and physically let them go. If you ever watched Marie Kondo's Tidying Up series on Netflix, you'll know what I mean and why. It's closure for me. So getting rid of the big bins of clothing was also motivating because now we were creating more space, like literally. So when it comes to organizing a small space, pick a neutral, easy space. If you know it'll trigger you, like it did with me, make sure you have a plan. Which brings me to number 5 of mistakes to avoid when starting an organizing project is not have a plan. Have you ever started something on a whim and after some time, sometimes late into the night, you realize you're overwhelmed and you're tired and in a deeper mess than when you first started? And the results? You're frustrated with yourself. So then you either get rid of everything, also known as rage purging, then really feel bad later on when you realized you shouldn't have gotten rid of certain things so quickly and based on frustration. Or maybe you end up just leaving everything there and coming back to it some other time. Then that some other time becomes, I don't have time. I can imagine this being annoying to constantly having it in the back of your mind. Another thing to add on that already long to-do list. My advice, start small or with an easy project as mentioned before. But if your project is more complex or bigger and the thought of this is already overwhelming, it might be time or a good idea to consult with a pro organizer who specializes in this space or project that you have. Not all organizers do moves or downsizing. Just like not all organizers deal with digital clutter or a family setting. So shop around. Maybe you know friends or family who've used professional organizing services before or read a few posts from different Facebook groups. Like I mentioned in number 2, a good place to start your search is with a recognized association like the POC or Professional Organizers in Canada, NAPO in the US, or ADPO in the UK. I'll link all of these things in the show notes. When you're on their site, just look for the tab or the button that says Find an Organizer, and you can start your search from there, whether from location or specialty, like those who work with families, for moving and downsizing, from feng shui to minimalism. It's all there. And don't forget to listen to episode number 7, Things You Need to Know Before Hiring a Professional Organizer. Okay, we're almost done here. Number 6 of mistakes to avoid when starting an organizing project. Number 6, organizing other people's things for them without their consent. Oh mama, the things we see in our home that annoy us, want to improve, or believe that we're doing a good thing for others, like our partner or older kids. It's hard to resist. I know and can totally understand, but this is a test of our strength, our will, our patience, and our character. Here's a story. A couple of years ago, when I was looking for a tool in the furnace room of our house, I called my husband. Now, if you know me, I like to do things on my own and figure things out. So I have no problem asking for help. But in this case, I just wanted to get the thing done, the things that I wanted to do. But I couldn't find what I was looking for. So I picked up my cell and made the call. Frustrated, of course. Later on, when we both found ourselves back in the garage, I asked if I could organize the tools, and I sensed some rigidity right away. Here I am in his space with his tools and probably annoying him. I did mention labeling things and how it would be easier for people to find things, etc. But I could still feel something brewing between us that wasn't going to end well. Now, if you know us, as a couple, we barely argue. And if we do, or when we have, it's always been about something we misunderstood or didn't put on the calendar. Okay, but in this case, it was different. So I stopped pressing and said to myself, I'll come back to it later, and I walked away. Because we're both doers and problem solvers by nature. The space I created, the actual physical and mental space I just created by stopping and walking away, helped us think things through a little more. The downfall here is when we don't listen to understand their perspective, it causes ill feelings and resentment for years and years and years. Oftentimes, without even us knowing about it, that it affected the other person deeply. Is that a kind of underlying feeling to live with? When wanting to organize another person's space, pause, do some self-reflection, and get real honest with yourself. Is organizing this space for me or for them? Is this something I think they need or something I want? So after some time and space, we came back to it and agreed the room needed to be organized a little better. We agreed that more than one person will sometimes use the space, even if one of us uses it more than the other. It still has to be clear for the untrained eye, also known as the person who doesn't use that space very often or rarely, and that labeling things wasn't a need here, and that was okay. We read somewhere, and this is a few years ago, and let me go into a tangent for a moment, that compromising doesn't mean one person loses and the other person wins. Compromise means coming up with a solution or a path to be on together. Both gain and no one loses. All right, finally, we're at number 7 of mistakes to avoid when starting an organizing project. Number 7, investing in bins, containers, and baskets too soon. I know, this is the fun part, and it's hard not to go into all that stuff and buy because it's a sign that changes are about to be made and we're excited. I get it, and I love your motivation. But hold up until you and the rest of the household has gotten used to the change in structure, and maybe there's a new system to be applied. I often tell my clients to use what you have right now, or maybe get inexpensive containers so you have a structure to help implement the system. But you might have to tweak and retweak down the road, which might mean a different kind of organizing solution. So investing in something that might not work will not only put a dent in your wallet, but now you gotta find some storage space for all your storage solutions or have to waste time and energy dealing with returning it all. My advice, keep it simple, get fancy later. So there you have it, my 7 mistakes to avoid when starting an organizing project. Let's do a quick recap, but for you to really avoid potential frustration, wasted time, and overwhelm, I'm going to do this recap by adding the word don't. Number 1, don't buy all the organizing tools and latest gadgets without first measuring or understanding why you're buying it for. Does it save space? Is it more maintenance when you have this new cool thing? Is it only used for one thing only? Number 2, don't hire a professional solely based on price. There's so much more to us than just that. Get on social media, talk to friends, and scour Facebook groups. See what we're like from personal experiences. Grab my cheat sheet to help you organize your thoughts. The link is in this episode's show notes. Number 3, don't start with a big room first. I love your enthusiasm and motivation, but taking on more than we bargained for is usually a recipe for disaster. Number 4, don't start with the wrong small space, like anything that triggers you to get into another time or space or emotional state. Stay away from these for now. Go easy and organize a neutral, emotional-free space. Number 5, don't not have a plan. In other words, have a plan of action whenever you have an organizing project in mind. It's important to know what will derail you, what will help you stay motivated, where do you start. Listen to episode number 7, Things You Need to Know Before Hiring a Professional Organizer. If a pro is the way to go. Number 6, don't organize other people's things for them without their consent. I know it's a tough one to resist, but I encourage you to have the talk and follow-up conversation with them. Is this something you want or something you think they need? The two are hardly ever the same. Number 7, don't invest in bins, containers, and baskets just yet. Work with what you have so the system has a structure and it's not a dent in your financials. When you have to tweak and reorganize, get everyone used to the changes and the way things work. Allow for it all to sink in, then get the right containers, bins, and beautiful baskets later on. There are tons of places you can get these things at, and at any time. Amazon will not close in 6 months. Boom, we're done. I hope this episode got you thinking on how to approach your next organizing project, big or small. Or maybe it got you to reflect a little more on your tendencies when it comes to approaching an organizing project. If you found this episode to be at all helpful, maybe there's another friend who would think so too, and they're struggling with starting an organizing project. Do them a huge favor and be so kind to share the link of this episode. I'd be so grateful to you because my mission is to help as many parents out there struggling to get organized. So your help is truly, truly needed and appreciated. Thank you so much for listening and spending some time with me today. Have a great week, friend. See you next time.